Howdy fellow gamers, I watched some movies. One such movie was Sonic the Honk movie number 2. And you know, it's a movie. It is a movie indeed. I'm honestly surprised at how much I liked it. Like, as promising as the trailers looked, it still didn't really seem like it would be my thing. I'm not really a big Sonic guy, and there's probably at least a few references that went over my head. But I know and enjoy the basics of this franchise and these characters, and yeah, you know what? I had a pretty good time watching this. It's undoubtedly better than the first film, thanks in no small part to the fact that it actually feels like a Sonic film, and not just a CGI buddy road trip movie where the CGI character just happens to be Sonic. The movie actually focuses on his relationships with other actual Sonic characters like Toils and Knuckles. And you know what? I liked his relationships with them. They were wholesome. Both of them were very enjoyable inclusions, with Idris Elba's Knuckles in particular being the perfect blend of badass and hilarious. I'm actually pretty interested in checking out that spin-off show he's supposed to get. He's one of those characters that I would actually love to see more of on his own. Robotnik and Stone were wonderful as ever, and I like how there's not even subtleties to their relationship anymore. Stone is just straight up in love with him. I thought the 25-minute sex scene they had together was a bit overly long and a pretty random choice for a kid's film, but it was still pretty good. Okay, I'm just joking with you guys. The sex scene was only 5 minutes. But aside from that, Stone really isn't in the movie too much, which was rather disappointing because he's probably my favorite character in this Sonic universe, to be honest. Jim Carrey Eggman was still good, and he played off of Knuckles very well though, so it's alright. In terms of my problems, there's a few very random extended sequences in this, like this dance-off Sonic and Tails have to compete in. It helps them bond with each other, I guess, but it just kind of feels like wasted time. And then there's this extremely random part later on where Sonic and friends are taken out of the story for a bit, and the focus is on the humans from the first movie. I won't get into spoilers about it, but it's just so out there. Like, it's kind of enjoyable, but it also kind of feels like it's from a completely different movie, and it messes with the pacing a bit. Though James Marsden does deliver the best line in the movie when he sees someone from his past again. That's all I'll say. And yeah, I think my biggest problem overall is that this movie feels way too long. Like, the climax was pretty cool and mostly satisfying, but at that point I was also kind of ready for it to wrap up. And I feel like this would be less of a problem if they had just cut down some of the weird extended sequences earlier in the movie. There's other little things too, like some of the lame jokes and pop culture references here and there, but honestly, those aren't really too big of a problem for me. I find a strange comfort in the lame jokes in these Sonic movies. Like, they just have this weird charm to them in spite of their cringy elements. Kinda like the Sonic franchise itself. So yeah, overall I had a really good time with this movie. It's not thematically profound or anything, but it's obviously not trying to be. It's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's fun. I really enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind watching it again sometime, which is something I can't really say about the first film. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Pretty epic. Oh yeah, and the post-credit scene had me like this.
Oh yeah! In your face! He's so pleased that he's begun shamelessly shadowboxing in the privacy of the bathroom.
The other movie I watched is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which is currently the highest rated movie of all time on Letterboxd. Like, this shit is higher rated than Parasite, The Godfather, and Robots 2005. So needless to say, I was pretty excited to watch it. And yeah, it was pretty great. It's also a pretty extremely difficult movie to talk about without spoiling anything. But with that said, this movie is best experienced blind, so I don't even want to get into spoilers here. I don't want to risk having anyone viewing this video who hasn't seen the movie yet deciding that they don't care about spoilers and they want to hear my spoiler discussion. No, man. No, you don't. You want to go into this movie as blind as possible. Trust me. I'm not even giving you the option to get spoiled. Maybe in another branch of the multiverse I would, but not this one. Anyway, non-spoiler vague talk, go! The best aspect of this movie was definitely the action. Some of the fight scenes in this movie are friggin' insane. Not only in how fast and fluid they are, but how insanely creative they can get. The editing and overall direction was also top-notch, as were the performances. The entire cast was great, and I especially loved Michelle Yeoh and James Hong. Like, for real, James Hong is such a treasure. I love him in everything. The story was also pretty strong and constantly kept me on my toes wondering what direction it was gonna head in. There's a ton of brilliant foreshadowing and recurring elements and themes I picked up on, and probably a ton more I won't notice until a second viewing. The main character also has an amazing arc, and the progression of her relationships over the course of the film is truly beautiful. A lot of you are probably probably wondering how I feel about an extended reference to one of my favorite movies. And yeah, I liked it. It was mildly funny and cute at first, but the joke really landed for me as they ramped up its absurdity towards the end. That was one of my biggest laughs watching this, though the reference wasn't my favorite scene in the movie. My favorite scene was that one that really rocks. You'll know it when you see it. In general, this is probably one of the most creative and ambitious movies I've ever seen in my life. I can certainly see where all of the immensely high praise is coming from with this film, though I'll admit I do have a couple of problems with it. For starters, I don't think they explained the whole jumping process particularly well, but that's kind of a minor issue because it was easy for me to pick up how it worked after they put it into practice a few times. I also feel like the scene in the tax office after things go wrong just went on forever and really could have been condensed. Like, it's the one stretch of the movie that I'm not really looking forward to rewatching when I check this out again. I also felt like the movie wasn't that funny. Like, I chuckled a few times and outright laughed once or twice, but a lot of the humor just felt more weird than funny. Like, there was no comedic buildup to some of these gags. It was just, haha, a weird thing is now happening all of a sudden. Not a lot really landed for me or my theater, which was mostly dead silent. I think I chuckled a lot more than most of the other people around me. And sometimes the gags can cause tonal problems, like when the main character has to make a really tough life or death choice 15 seconds after her family laughed at her for getting a movie reference wrong. It made it so some of the drama didn't really land for me. Now, this statement comes with two asterisks. One, I'm sure this sense of tonal whiplash was the directorial intent, considering the insane premise of this movie. I can respect that intent, but I can't really do anything about the fact that some of the emotional scenes were lost on me because of said intent. But, asterisk number two, it all came together in the climax. Well, the last climax. This movie has like 10 climaxes, but I didn't mind that too much. It kind of fit with the tone. But yeah, that last climax was masterful, perfectly blending insane goofiness and powerful sentimentality. Almost everything the movie threw at you over the course of the past 2 hours is paid off here. It's such an amazing writing, editing, and directorial feat, and I was completely swept up in it. The conflict of ideologies in that scene is so simple, yet the way it was presented just blew me away. It was a weird, wonderful, absolutely breathtaking moment that blended seriousness and silliness better than anything I've seen in recent memory. A lot of people have said that this movie is one of the best things they've ever seen in their lives, and to me personally, this climax might just be one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. It's just the journey to get to the climax was a bit messy, but again, I feel like that was by design. That unfortunately doesn't change the fact that I didn't enjoy every single aspect of this film, but I can still admire the sheer ambition of the whole package and the small things here and there that didn't work for me. Like I said, this is one of the most ambitious films I've ever seen. And just because I don't think the film lived up to every single one of its ambitions, doesn't mean I don't think it's great. Because it is. And you should definitely go watch it if it's playing near you. Go in as blind as possible and prepare to get blown away. Just don't forget to breathe. Much like The Batman, I'm a bit torn whether to give this an 8 or a 9, and it might fluctuate on rewatch, but right now I'm feeling an 8 out of 10. I know it's a bit weird to only give this ambitious as hell movie 1 point higher than the decidedly non-ambitious kids movie about a talking hedgehog, but like, that's kind of the problem with number scores, isn't it? These two movies are striving for completely different things and really aren't comparable. The numbers are only there to signify how well these movies did at achieving what they set out to do in a vacuum. The numbers for these two entirely different films are not meant to be directly compared, and it would be really nice if I could stop getting comments on Letterboxd saying, why did he give some random kids movie the same score as insert critically acclaimed film that I gave a 7 out of 10 to here? Stop getting hung up on number scores so much. Go touch some grass. And go check out these movies, they're pretty epic. Good night, Tri-State Multiverse.